Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Unique Not Different with me, Shamla. This morning, we woke up to a new government elect and a new prime minister elect, Mrs. Kamala Prasad. So this morning, I have Dr. Paul Richards, who is a disability advocate, who is here to talk about the vulnerable and the disabled in our society. We have a new administration, but the problems are still there. So today, good morning, Dr. Richards. How are you
Good
doing?
morning. I'm fine, thank you. Good morning, Shamla, and good morning to your team, Ruckus, and the team, and whoever's in Master Control, if it's Shannon or Curtis or Ed, everyone. Good to see you all. Thank you for having me this morning. And may I start by taking the opportunity to congratulate Mrs. Pasal-Bissessor, SC, and the Coalition of Interest, and the TPP and Mr. Augustine and Tobago for their resounding victories in the poll, and of course to Trinidad and Tobago for continuing in our tradition of having peaceful elections, which is a very important tradition and practice we've established for over 60 years.
I express the same sentiments. So let's get straight into it. What are your top expectations from the new administration when it comes to supporting persons with disability and vulnerable groups?
Well, great question. I think you know that I have been had the honor to work with so many disability groups in Trinidad and Tobago: Autism, TT, Down Syndrome Family Network, a plethora of groups, and most recently had the honor to chair a committee of the Law Association of Trinidad and Tobago Human Rights Committee, which we're working for the last almost 2 years on draft disability legislation, which we presented to then Minister of Social Development, Dara Cox, and the association is vetting it. So I'm hoping that that draft bill, which really seeks to offer protections, legislative protections for persons with disability, a serious vulnerable group in Trinidad and Tobago, protections in areas such as education, health, infrastructure, access, social participation, including voting, and many other areas that we can finally have on our books disability-specific legislation, as does Jamaica, Bahamas, Guyana since 2010, and that we can have persons with disability protected in Trinidad and Tobago. So I hope this is made a priority by the incoming administration of Mrs. Pasal-Bissessor.
How can the new government ensure persons with disability are meaningfully included in national development and not just be a symbol?
Well, by passing disability-specific law, I mean we've engaged in what has been primarily a charity model over the last few decades, where grants are given, which I appreciate, and I'm sure persons with disabilities and their families appreciate the grants. But because we don't have disability-specific law, there's no legal recourse for somebody who is refused treatment at hospital because of their disability, or educational access, or voting access, or infrastructure and access to a building, private and public buildings. So if someone is denied rights that average citizens, typical citizens, or typically presenting citizens take for granted, there's no legal recourse. Yes, we have the Equal Opportunities Act, etc., but it's proved to be extremely ineffective in protecting the rights of persons with disabilities, as you well know.
Yes, for sure. So why do you think that in this day and age we still do not have laws for disability, yet we have law passing for multiple other things?
Well, I think it's a matter of understanding that there has been a mindset that persons with disabilities are them and they. And we don't realize if we have the honor and privilege to live long enough, we will all develop a disability of some kind. And we may have a disability now that's not profound and impacting our daily lives. But at the end of the day, that doesn't mean that the persons who have disabilities and have challenges and their families have challenges should not be protected by law. I think it's a matter of understanding it's not a them versus us, and persons with disabilities who are in the vulnerable group must be protected, and so to their families.
So now let's say the disability legislation is passed, right? And we have the right to get into the school system, health, and so on. Now, there's gaps within the education system, health system that prevents it, right? Do you think reform, restructure, reoperationalization re-strategizing would support in, I guess, the vulnerable, because right now I think it's a one size fits all. Still,
I think you're right. The passage of the law, to me, the law is very important as a first step. But even with countries where the law has been passed, for example, Guyana, Jamaica, Bahamas, other countries that have passed disability-specific law, there's a process to educate the public on what is appropriate and what is lawful, and also the implementation of, of the structures that are needed to support persons with disabilities and their families is also going to be something that is going to have to be an ongoing conversation and an ongoing initiative. It's not just about passing the law, it's about making sure the law is being enforced. And then the law may be amended if we find that even though it's passed, persons are still slipping through the gaps, as you rightly identified, because at the end of the day, it must redound to the positive impact of the person who is treated equally in society.
so we often talk about data, right? Data speaks. Data tend to be facts. So should establishing a national disability registry be a priority? And how would that improve planning and support?
Well, absolutely. But it shouldn't only be about that, because there's some persons who have disability who may not want to join the registry, who may not want to disclose, and they have the right to privacy. So if we depend on that, while I think it's a great idea because some jurisdictions have that, I think having the law and enforcing the law that protects the rights of someone who has disability, a disability or multiple disabilities, is the first step that must be engaged in to have that legal recourse, so that person can go to the courts and say, listen to me, my rights are being infringed. I am a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, and I don't have access to a building because there's no ramp. I don't have access to disability-specific intervention in schools or in the hospitals or in social services. You know, I don't have technology that can help me learn, because it's not a matter of my intelligence. It's just I have a disability. You wear spectacles, I wear spectacles. If we didn't wear these spectacles, we would not be able to see clearly and participate in education and functioning in society. So it's about those things that typically present will take for granted that significantly negatively impacts the person with disability and their families. You go to the hospital, and in some instances, the doctor may say, I don't know how to treat this person. That can't be. The hospital must be equipped with persons who are trained and ready to treat a person with a disability. I saw a situation yesterday, I don't know how it evolved, but somebody went to vote with their adult child who is diagnosed with autism, and apparently they were denied voting because somebody decided that, I haven't had the story confirmed, that person is diagnosed with autism, and so they make a determination about that person's eligibility to vote, when the law should protect that person's right. You know,
exactly.
Something that we take for granted as typically presented citizens must be protected by law for persons with disabilities.
We often find that institutions operate in silos, right? For example, transport, health, social, and so on. How important, even digital, right? How important it is to, I guess, when making laws, that they have to open policies to fill that gap. So when things pass, they are streamlined in such a way that there's no gaps.
Well, one of the things we learned, if nothing else, from the past 5, 10, 15 years in Trinidad and Tobago, that passing laws and having great plans and policies is one thing. Implementation and effective implementation, monitoring of success, and amending to suit gaps that arise is something completely different. And we have to look at society as being treated equally. Our national anthem says every creed and race finds an equal place. But and I've asked this question already in the parliament, does every creed and race find an equal place? Are we all really treated equally? No, we are not.
No.
Because of things that are taken for granted, and because of vulnerabilities that exist, because laws are not passed to protect, and not only persons with disabilities, the elderly.
Yeah.
You understand? The persons who are under the poverty line. There's so many areas of vulnerability that need to be addressed in Trinidad and Tobago. But I'm an advocate for persons with disabilities and also other vulnerable groups. So that's my point about advocacy.
Definitely. What message do we have for the new leadership, not as a plea, but as a call for action on equity and justice?
Well, I think looking at the campaign, Mrs. Pasal-Bissessar has and her team and the Coalition of Interest have clearly indicated that their issue was inequality in society, their perception of inequality in society, and where one group was perceived to be getting more access than other groups to several different things, including economic wealth, etc. So I think based on that and the issue of social justice and equity should be championed in all areas, including the disability specific law, that I hope that the incoming administration prioritizes and that we see go to the parliament in the shortest possible time as one of the pillars or the priority areas for the new administration's legislative format or process moving forward. So I'm hoping in 6 months, less than a year, we see this. We have a draft bill already that the Law Association Human Rights Committee has created. And I want to thank the Law Association of Ria Mohammed Davidson and the rest of the team who interest groups, Glenn Niles, Dr. Jean Antoine Dunn, Laura and Francis Eskai, Jackie Lioto. I don't want to leave anyone else because everyone has worked so hard over the last 2 years, volunteering their time, effort, and expertise to bring that draft law to bear. And we hope that it can be passed on to the new administration, that they can take a look at it, so you don't have to start from scratch and take it to the parliament, hopefully for passage. I don't see how any sane, reasonable, rational person could say we don't want this. There may be some amendments to it, but it has to start with passage of the law.
Definitely, Dr. Richards. This was very insightful. And while we were waiting to go live, and I would say this live, I grew up watching you and Jessie May, and I remember, in awe. So, doing things like this, I am on the other side interviewing you. It's just mind-blowing. It's an honor, and please keep up the good work.
And I want to thank you. You are a shining example of how society should look at a person with a disability, not in terms of their disability, but in terms of what they can do, their ability. You're bright, you're beautiful, you have passion, you have strength. And I hope the new administration employs and uses people like you in a way, because as the global mandate says, nothing for us without us. So it can't happen without persons who are affected directly like yourself, and who are strong advocates and who are spreading the word and doing the work that you're doing. So congratulations to you and to TTT for keeping this show going. It's very, very important. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And it goes with the show, unique, not different. So guys, with that being said, I want to say thank you so much for tuning in to this week's segment of Unique, Not Different. As I always say, be good, do good. Mr. Richards, have me nervous. Bye, everyone.